Welcome to the Medfield Candidate Forum. I'm very pleased to be here with our four candidates for two positions as library trustees for the town of Medfield. Delighted to have a competitive election, but more importantly, delighted to have four people willing to step up and talk to us a little bit about the library, their views on its role and its importance within our town, and why they would like to be a library trustee and one of the leaders of that within town. Tonight's forum is hosted by Medfield TV, so thank you to Medfield TV. Put a lot of time into making this happen in partnership with the Medfield Insider, the Medfield Environmental Action, and myself. So I'm going to introduce our four candidates. To my right, my extreme right, I guess. It's not so extreme, but right there, Caryn Picarillo. Thank you for being here. To my immediate right, Richard White. To my immediate left, Sarah Westhoven, and to my far left, Phil Tuths, who is an incumbent. So we have one incumbent running.
Richard is also incumbent. Richard is also incumbent.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I apologize for that. It wasn't in my notes, and I guess I could have. Yeah, no. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming back to run again. And you know the initial question is really that for the two of you, why it is that you want to be reelected as library trustees and what you bring, and for our two new candidates to be able to talk. We'll start on this end this time, and we'll try to reverse the order as we go along with various questions. So for 2 minutes.
Okay, well, my name's Phil Tuths, and I'm proud to be running for reelection as library trustee. This is the third time that I'd be running, and it's been an honor to serve. I've been in town for 30 years, and I raised my three boys here in town. They all went through the school system, and we all spent many hours in the library when they were young, going to story time and getting them books. My service as a trustee is a way of giving back to the town for all that's given us. The last forum mentioned that Medfield is ranked number 8 in the state, and certainly the schools are part of that. But I'd say that the excellent library here in Medfield is also a big part of it. We've got a great staff, a dedicated and talented director in Pam Gardner, and she's hired a great staff over there. Erica, Moira, Bree, Andrea, they're all great. And the library is always a place where you can go and find a smiling face and somebody to help you. And I've spent many days there. I was stopping in the library on almost a daily basis for a while, and I was surprised that one day when I was approached by the librarians and saying, there's a slot open for trustee, and we think you should run. And I'm like, really? And I sort of thought about it, but then I was really glad to do that. I grew up in Long Island, New York, and every Saturday, my mom would take me to the library. She was kind of a readaholic, and if you went into her bedroom, she had stacks of books on either side. And so she'd take me to the library, and I'd pick out a Hardy Boys book or something else and bring it back. That sort of developed a love for library for me. In times that we have right now, having a place to get real information and to have a place for open discussion is really important. So I'm running for re-election.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sarah.
Excellent. Yeah, good evening, and thank you to you guys for giving us the forum to answer questions from the town of Medfield. My name is Sarah Westhoven, obviously running for library trustee. And as I was sitting down to kind of think about this opening statement, I kept thinking about a book by Susan Orleans called The Library Book. I don't know if anyone in the room's read it, but a big part of the book delves into the evolution of libraries, from the protectors and keepers of information and knowledge to the community institutions that we think of today, where they offer everything from books to arts and programming to technology access, and just a place for the community to come together. And I remember reading this book a few years ago and just being in awe of the critical role that libraries and librarians play in communities across the United States and throughout the world. And I really walked away inspired to get more involved. like you, libraries have offered so many forms of community for me over my life, from spending summers in my childhood library to the social and study hubs they provided as a teen and a college student, to the outlet they provided me as a mom of 2 toddlers just looking for some adult interaction on a freezing day. But these days, I watch my elementary school kids proudly march up to our librarians and ask for new books. I study and work in the back room at the library for a little change of scenery. I use the printer when I can't get ours to work, which is more frequent than I would like, and enjoy chatting with neighbors and librarians and friends. So it's really become that critical place. I know the way that the library supports me over the coming decades will change, and I really want to be a part of making sure that it's there for my family and for the entire town of Medfield. I know all of these forms of community and more are relevant for you, and so I just wanted to run for library trustee to build out our already strong library and make sure it continues to serve as the bedrock of our community. So looking forward to tonight's questions, and
Well, thank you for the opening, Sir Richard.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard White, and I'm running for another term on the Board of Trustees. My wife Catherine and I moved to Medfield 6 years ago. We've lived in the Boston area since 1978. I'm also a member of the Friends of the Medfield Public Library, and I serve as a liaison between the trustees and the Friends, maintaining membership records and things like that. So if you've ever received a thank you note via email for joining the Friends, that came from me, even though I didn't sign it. I think that a healthy and vibrant library is a sign of a well-governed town, and its values should reflect those of the community. We're promoting reading, literacy, education, civic responsibility. We're very proud of what we've done with the children's programs, story time, drop-in fun, yoga. And serving on the board is one way that I can give back and show gratitude for the privilege of living in this town, which is probably the nicest town I've ever lived in. And so I'm asking for your vote, and whoever you vote for, just come out and vote on Monday.
Thank you.
I would say that the results of the 2024 election are what motivated me to run for this position. I figured instead of just being angry, I would pour my energy into serving my local community. I stand before you today with a heart full of passion and a mind that is resolute in these challenging times. We witness the very foundations of democracy being tested. The role of a library trustee takes on an even greater significance. Our libraries are more than just buildings filled with books. They are sanctuaries of knowledge, bastions of free thought, and pillars of our community. I would like to share a personal story that inspired me to run for this position in this wonderful town. As a child, I was captivated by the magic of books. The library was my sanctuary, a place that I would hole up to meet new worlds, meet fascinating characters, and let my imagination soar. My love of reading was nurtured by the dedicated librarians who always knew just the right book to pick. And these early experiences ignited a lifelong passion in me of learning and discovery. Fast forward to today, I'm a scientist who still carries that same love of reading and thirst for knowledge. My career has been built with curiosity and critical thinking I developed through countless hours spent in the library. The skills I honed as a young reader have been invaluable in my scientific endeavors, allowing me to approach problems with creativity and perseverance. When my partner and I moved here in 2023 with our 4 children, we were drawn by the outstanding school system. However, we quickly discovered the true gem of this community is its warm and inviting spirit that we fell in love with, the sense of belonging and the shared commitment to fostering a vibrant, supportive environment for all residents. It is this deep appreciation that has made me want to give back. I believe that my scientific background, combined with my passion for reading, uniquely positions me to contribute to continued success in the growth of our library. In these uncertain times, please let us stand united in our commitment to the principles that define us. Let us champion our library as a symbol of resilience and hope. And let us remember, even in the darkest of times, the light of knowledge will always guide us forward.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you. Very good statements. I guess my first question is kind of a big one. We'll start on this end and work this way this time. And I guess my question is, there's so many changes, in libraries and over time. If we were to think forward, how do you expect the library in Medfield to evolve? What changes would we expect to see if we look back, say, 5 years from now, in the way that our library interacts with the town, or maybe the services it provides? So I guess I'm trying to take all of the change that I perceive and think about how that's going to impact our existing library, and how that library is going to change and evolve, in the foreseeable future, in the next 5 years, perhaps.
Sure. I think, the past 5 years have sort of been a litmus test. We're coming out of COVID finally, it feels like, maybe going into bird flu. But I believe that a lot of the processes the library put in place during COVID has really sort of helped bring library to the forefront where technology meets community. I know the online catalog is huge. The Overdrive and Libby audiobook is big. I really do think that technology is going to come to the forefront of the library in the next 5 years. Whether that's through technology-based programming, having diverse programming, more diverse than currently. But I do think that, the library sort of sits on the crux of where technology is going to take us in the next 5 years. So I think having access to that and being able to provide the community with that, for access to that, is really sort of a hallmark.
And thank you.
Right.
Thanks. Richard?
Certainly, the library has done an excellent job in embracing technology in all things that it offers, while keeping the traditional purpose of the library well in mind. There are books there. You don't need to worry about them disappearing. I have one there myself. But in addition to that, technology itself is not the answer. It raises as many questions as it solves, mainly because you can't necessarily trust what you're being told by the technological apparatus that we've become enslaved to, if you will. That's a bit harsh. But the library is also able to provide good resources for developing critical thinking skills, civic awareness, the desire for public service, and the importance of an ongoing and stable political system. Very strong here in New England, and I believe that is one of the great strengths of a well-run library, that it will help us to develop the coming generations of citizens, good citizens, responsible citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, I think, libraries are continually evolving, and that is true of their approach to technology and their use of technology and programming. But I hope what comes to happen in the next 5 years or so is that the libraries really become a hub of discussion and trusted information. So I see it for Medfield as a place where we can, have programming and bring together all of the groups across town doing wonderful things, and really bring them together at the library where, people can get the most up-to-date information, to be a part of these different groups of community, and to, just participate in in-person discussion, which we keep seeing get lost in sort of the discussions that get going on social media. So I would like to see, of course, programming and technology will evolve depending on the needs of the constituents, but I would like to see Medfield Library become a place of in-person discussion, collaboration, and community.
Thank you.
Hi. As far as technology goes, the library is on track to provide whatever is available out there. Pam and her staff are totally on top of all the technological changes. And the question really is, for me, is beyond technology, what is the library going to be in the next 5 years? We're in challenging times right now. And people are being fed misinformation and lies And the library is the place where you can go to find the truth and to have a free exchange of ideas, and where people can go and not be afraid to discuss their beliefs. DEI is under attack right now. To me, DEI is the foundation of what the library should provide. Diversity, inclusion for everybody, and so that's what I hope the library, because we're under attack, and 43 states right now ban books, including one library system in Massachusetts. So there's a push out there to suppress the truth and the exchange of ideas, and I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we said it can't happen here. So for the next 5 years, I think we need to be bulwarks of what's out there, and to maintain our vision for truth and open discussion.
Well, I have a question that I was going to do a little bit later, but builds on that, so we'll just continue with that question having to do with, intellectual freedom, access to the library for everyone. You raised the issue of book banning, and, I think like you all do, this library being a place for trusted information, open discourse, and all of those things that have been a hallmark. So maybe I could just get you to each comment on this challenge for libraries. Now we'll start with Sarah, and we'll kind of work our way around, and back to you, Phil. You can conclude.
Sounds great. Yeah, book banning has no place in public libraries, full stop. So it's pretty simple. I was pleased to see in the last strategic plan that the current trustees put together that one of the core values is freedom of access to books and programming and resources. So if elected trustee, I would absolutely ensure that continues to be the case. And I think, again, being a place where we can have those discussions and debates and access any information that's available to us is critically important.
I believe that if more people read, there would be fewer books being banned. I'm not sure how many people that are calling for the banning of, whatever books have actually opened them and read what's in there. God forbid they should open the Bible, for example. I've always felt that reading and just learning will free you. And then if you become free, then you will become more accepting of the ideas that offend you, and you will know how to deal with them in another, rather than trying to shut them down. That we can't have. Not only is freedom to read under attack, but science is under attack. The humanities are under attack. So it's up to us to try and reverse that trend, take it back by keeping a free and vibrant library available to everyone in town. The truth will set you free. It may make you very angry, but out of anger can come productive developments.
Thank you, Caryn.
Yeah, this is the whole reason I'm sitting here. The one thing that was really nice is in the strategic plan, the core values of the library are core values that are near and dear to my heart. Inclusivity, diversity, intellectual freedom. I mean, those are the cornerstones of being a human. And really just wanting to protect those is what brought me here. I mean, I as much as I love the library and I love to read, I also love democracy. And I love people being able to go to the library and get the information they need instead of going onto the internet, which is a wormhole. But yeah, I'm here for it.
Okay, thank you. And Phil, I'll give you an opportunity to circle back to your.
Just to follow up on what I said, as a member of the trustees over the last 6 years, I was part of the group coming up with a proactively a plan for challenges to our books in the library, which we now have in place, so that we have a forum for people, if it happens, to challenge the books, but then have a group that would decide on it if it comes to that. It hasn't come to that yet. My understanding is that the school system has had problems with books being challenged. And the other thing I'd like to say is that you can ban books or you can suppress the way to the access to books. So in Massachusetts, it's only required that we have the library open 5 days a week. And since I've been on the board, I've been adamant in the library in Medfield being open 7 days a week. And not every library around here is. Norwood and Walpole are only open 6 days a week. But on the trustees, I will always be the voice that says that we should be open 7 days a week, and I'll stick by that.
Yeah, well, thank you. There's a certain kind of a book, a cookbook, in which, ingredients are important. And I'm just going to go down, and if you could just, without going into detail, just identify the ingredients that you think are required to make for a great library.
Great library staff, number one, who are selecting important, relevant, controversial books, movies, lectures, anything that's available in modern media, make them available to the citizens of the town and provide them with facts and valid opinions, and allow them to develop their own approach to the truth. I do honestly believe that given the right motivation and the right materials, most people will come around to my point of view. And that's the right point of view, of course. But yeah, just all of this is available. It needs to be upheld, preserved, expanded, and have the support of the citizens of the town. That's the most important thing. Once you have that, the library, although it won't sustain itself, it has gone a long way to becoming self-sustaining.
Caryn, ingredients?
I would say listening and communication. I think that you have to listen to what the community would like to see in its library programming, its library content, and the ability to listen and take in that and really sit down and think about it and be able to come up with plans to provide as much as possible for the community. I think also listening to each other on the trustee board. There'll be differing opinions, I'm sure, but I really do think that using the community and each other can really help, and along with the director, of course, having a great director, as Richard said, is invaluable.
Bill?
Recipe for success for the library?
Recipe, yeah.
It's a great town and a great library staff and a great library. We're very lucky in Medfield. We're very blessed. It's a great community. I've loved living here, and if you just go to the library in Medfield, you can take it for granted. And so when I travel around, I have kids scattered around the country. I always go to the local library, some of which are very large and larger than ours. But one thing that I always look at is the staff. What are they like? I was just out in St. Louis recently, and I went to one of the larger libraries there in U City where my son teaches high school. I walked in with my grandkids, and the librarians literally did not look at us, okay? They just were down there, and I walked in, and I started thinking about what it's like going to the Medfield Library, where somebody says hi, they look at you, they smile, and that's what a library is all about, okay? It's to me. So there's there's the hardware, and then there's the peopleware at the library, and that's where we really shine, I think.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, I think passionate staff and librarians, absolutely. I would also echo Caryn and say, the mechanisms for collecting feedback on a regular basis from diverse groups in town. I'd also add, strong collaborations with different groups. I love in the Medfield Library, there's constantly changing displays from artwork to the flower show to Sustainable Medfield with their house and all the little, things you can do within your house to increase sustainability. The children's collection area, just that frequent rotation of kind of giving airtime and and visibility to groups around town, and having those strong partnerships is really important.
Give you three demographics, and you can choose any one of them to say, like, how do you enhance the embracing of the library as this center of knowledge, or whatever it is, choosing amongst either, since we all got introduced to libraries early, it seems to me that there's some ignition that if you can make that happen earlier, this becomes a place that people will love. So you could take these very, very early learners, very young learners, teens, and maybe our seniors, and pick any one of the three of them and say, programmatically, you could say what we're doing well or what we could do better, or you could say, here would be a new idea, or anything related to any of those three groups that might draw them even more closely to the library, or any ideas that you've seen other places, or anything that you think that we do even particularly well now that we want to just get the word out more for, but as it relates to one of those three demographics. And I think, where are we? Circling back to Caryn. Sorry, I think Caryn.
I've lost my way.
It was much easier when I just looked out and I was.
I think, for our senior demographic, I'm not as versed in the programming at the Medfield Public Library for the senior demographic, but I am at my old hometown library. They had a lot of really nice programming that would get the seniors out of wherever they were living and into the library. It was Scrabble, Words with Friends, help in technology. I still need it, and I'm not quite a senior yet. It was just really, they had book clubs, they had gardening seminars. I just think it was a really, really nice cachet of programming for seniors, which I think are sometimes overlooked. But, because I always felt, as a child at least, that the library is really geared toward children, which, I'm here, so it did its job.
Thank you.
But I think, maybe a mobile book, for those seniors that can't come to the library would be a really great idea. We're bringing books to them. I don't know if there is that program, but there is. Excellent, beautiful program.
Good.
So,
Richard, we'll come this way this time.
One thing that I've really enjoyed seeing over the years are special events structured around an author's birthday, for example, with readings from books by anybody, celebrities in town, if we have any, or state representatives or people like that. Say June 16th, somebody reads part of Ulysses for Bloom's Day. Maybe not Molly Bloom's soliloquy at the end, but you can work up to that. August 1st, Melville, you can do Moby Dick, which is done every year in New Bedford, and still one of my favorite books. H.P. Lovecraft, all New England writers that can be brought in, and is a way of engaging multiple groups of readers and people of interest, because who in their right mind picks up Ulysses and reads it through? It's a wonderful book, and it's well presented verbally. So that kind of thing. As far as games go, little personal anecdote. We went to the Dover Library one time years ago. Game night. I said, all right, board games, checkers, backgammon, stuff. It was all role-playing games.
surprise!
They didn't want anything to do with it.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's a good one too.
Sarah, one of those demographics, and something you might.
Yeah, hopefully it's an okay way to address the question, but I actually would love to see more cross-demographic programming. I think the library, I'm obviously more familiar with the children's programming, but I know from friends that teen programming is excellent. I don't know as much about senior programming, but I would love to see programs that bring those groups together a little bit more, whether it's, teens running a program to teach adults how to do a certain craft, or bringing
technical.
together
or use their iPhones.
how to use their phones, or bringing together, elementary school kids to read with seniors, or practice, something they're working on at school, or play games. I think there's a lot of fantastic programming. I think we can do more to kind of bring those demographics together. and really just enhance those, connections with people that you don't see in your everyday life. So that would be my preference.
That's good. Thank you, Phil.
Well, Medfield Library has programs that really addresses every demographic, and I'm happy that we're having program at the center in Medfield. He's going over to do crafts things, and we're having other I think some speakers over there. Erica, our teen librarian, has a teen space that's very welcoming to every kind of teen you can imagine, and also is really good at coming up with a way to keep the young people on their best behavior on half days, which is a big challenge, and something that we spend a lot of time at. Trying to figure out how we can get as many story times as possible for all the young mothers that want to take their kids in is actually something that we discuss. But I want to mention one thing, and that's the trustees during COVID, working with the library staff and Pam to keep providing services in a very challenging time. The staff continued to work throughout COVID. People were able to get books. We delivered books. And the trustees worked together with Pam and the rest of the staff to maintain services during that time. And that was a real challenge, and something I'm very proud of.
And thanks for that. And next question, I guess, would be, they always talk about how do you this idea of being a continuous learner is so important, and even in companies, and the companies I work with, the differentiator is often companies that will take their learning and apply it quickly. And how do you help to take people of all ages and to try to inspire them or motivate them to this continuous learning mindset, frame of mind, if you will? And we'll start this time with you, Sarah.
Yeah, sure. I think, a huge part of that is just providing the safe space and access to materials. I know for me, it was important to make sure the library was a place where my kids felt safe and learned how to interact with adults and, felt comfortable treating it as a second home. And so I think by, again, having the fantastic staff that we have, adding programming that addresses the interests of all children, teens, adults, is where you kind of inspire people to become those continuous learners, and you start laying that foundation for, getting people interested in exploring what the library has to offer.
That's right. Phil, continuous learning.
Well, in my other life, I'm a mental health counselor. I've been in mental health field for over 40 years, and one of the things I tell my clients is that I try to learn something new every day. I pass that on to them, the library is a place where you can do that. You have access to books, other materials, the program at the library is excellent. We have everything from authors' talks to craft to what do we have recently? King Philip's War, recently. But by providing something that people want to go to, you can inspire them to get involved. So maintaining an excellent level of programming will bring people in.
Very good. Caryn.
Yes, I think to echo what Sarah and Phil said, I think access and programming really are two of the pillars that really will hopefully spark that joy of continuous learning in people. In my last library, they had a town-wide book where they chose one book. The entire town was invited to read it. I don't know if everybody did. And then they had a little book club to discuss it. It was really nice. They did it maybe twice a year. It was sort of a nice way for the community to come together.
Richard.
One of the things that has astounded me in the last 25 years or so is the growth of access to knowledge through the Minuteman Library Network and similar opportunities. So if I want to go out and get some kind of book on, I don't know, partial differential equations or something like that,
My favorite.
I can request it and it will be there in a couple of days, and then I can spend the rest of my life trying to get past the first chapter. But all of this would not exist without a library. The libraries are taking a small piece of the internet and turning it into a really valid opportunity to learn stuff, rather than to learn a whole lot of things that quite possibly are not true or just trolling. So you go out there, find a topic that interests you, and if your local library doesn't have the resources for it, they can get it for you, and they can tell you how to obtain it. And that is an amazing development. I think that of everything that's happened in my adulthood, that's the one that has made the most difference to me.
Thank you. Question on budgets. So, we live in a kind of a budgetary, a little bit constrained, and at least it's competitive. There's a lot of needs in Medfield, and so it's important for everybody who's a part of the budget to operate effectively and efficiently and all of that. Thoughts on anything related to being able to manage the costs, work within budgets, be efficient and effective in providing the services at the levels of the budget that we have now. And I think we'll start with you, Phil. You have some experience as an incumbent.
Yeah, well, one of the most important things that the trustees do is they work with Pam on the budget. And I will say that the Medfield Library is always just on a target with our budget. We're very lucky here because we also have the Friends of the Library who are very active and give us a lot of support, and that really helps us with programming. In addition to that, there are several grants that we've received. There are people who've given donations to the library, which we can draw upon, so that if something special comes up that wouldn't necessarily be in the budget, the trustees can vote to take a certain amount of money from one of those and apply it towards, it might be furniture, or it could be some other thing, in the physical plant that there isn't money for. But that's something that we go over every meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Richard?
I think the library is a tremendous bargain for the amount of money that's spent on it. You can't get the services that we get anywhere for the modest outlay that the town provides. We certainly can't, and we haven't, depended on the federal government for any grants. That's not going to happen anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the library is funded by the town and state, so that's good. And nobody's knocking on a door saying, we're looking for waste in your process here, and we want to cut your budget and maybe your staff too, because you obviously don't need that many assistant librarians and volunteers. The library is well run, it's financially responsible, and I don't think that there's any there's certainly no fat to trim here.
Okay.
The Friends do a very good job. I think the donations for last year around $15,000, which fund a number of very good programs. The writing prizes, the Fish Scholarship, $2,000 there, and they provide funding for the Friends Bookstore, which is a great bargain for anybody. The Makerspace, and other options. So, yeah.
Great. Caryn, thoughts on the economics of it?
Well, I'm out of my depth when it comes to economics of a budget of a library, but, looking at the last few years of this library, I'm amazed at how tightly reined in the budget is and well spent at that too. And, I know the library gets the money from town. our property taxes help fund that. The Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners gives grants, come from the state. Obviously, as Richard mentioned, the Institute of Museum and Library Services is probably not going to give us any federal grants. So I think, sort of using what budget we have and really spending the money wisely is going, in the next at least 4 years, is going to, and probably more after that, is going to be, sort of a balancing act.
Sarah?
Yeah, I think, obviously ensuring the financial stability and responsibility of the library is a big part of being a trustee. I think obviously it's well managed now. I think it's just prioritizing investments in, what we think and the town thinks are the most important aspects of the library. And then I just add, I think the Friends of the Library is a fantastic program. I think it might not be as well publicized as it could be, maybe to, some of those who are newer in town. But yeah, 100%, impressed with what the library's done so far on the budget that they have, and would work to get any additional funding we can from any additional source, make sure it stays great.
I want to thank everybody for their comments and their thinking. To me, it's kind of, came clear as to why the library is located in the center of the town based on all the comments that you said, and how symbolically or metaphorically that works for us, to be at the center of the town. I also want to tell you that this is very sincere, that we have 4 candidates for 2 positions. And I can't remember, a forum where I've been kind of impressed by the thoughtfulness of people coming forward to be candidates and to voice their opinions. So I certainly hope post-election that, everyone stays and, committed to these issues and to other issues in town, because this is a very great group to have up here and competing. So with that said, thank you. I'll say to the voters, the election is on March 31st, so polls open at 6 a.m. a week from Monday. Definitely based on what we have just seen, this is deserving of you getting out and helping the town, self-govern itself, which I believe in, and, is a great feature for what Medfield is all about. So why don't we just start, Caryn, with just a final wrap-up.
Again, just looking at the core values of the library, really, I am willing to put myself on the line to protect that, because I think this community deserves it. I think the individuals in this room deserve it. I deserve it. My children deserve it. This country deserves it. I just want to thank you. Thank you, Scott. This is a great moderation. Thank you, Medfield TV, for coming here, and thank you for inviting me. And get out and vote.
It's wonderful to see 4 candidates for these 2 positions. I wasn't expecting this, and frankly, I think it's wonderful. Everyone, well, the other 3 anyway, appear to be very well qualified and certainly motivated to do a fine job for the library and the town. If I don't get elected, I will continue to work with the Friends. I encourage everyone in Medfield to get involved to whatever degree they can in the library. It's a wonderful place, and the tradition of libraries goes back to Benjamin Franklin in Philadelphia, for heaven's sake. We are part of a long and wonderful growth process in civic responsibility. And thank you very much. Vote.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, great. Hopefully, you've seen my passion for the library, for this town. I have qualifications in marketing, communications, and finance, so would love to bring those skills to the role of trustee. But, just appreciate the time to get to know you and get to know the other candidates who are obviously share my passion for the library. So thank you for your time.
I guess I just want to repeat that these really are challenging times, and I was thinking about driving back from DC this afternoon, visiting my kids, and on the radio I heard the story that the Department of Defense had wiped the website for Jackie Robinson from there, and my thought was, where will people get their information from in the future? I mean, where's the last bastion? what's the library, you know, and so people need to really take it seriously, and I do. And if you vote for me, you know, I'll help to make sure that there's always access to information, and that you know, there won't be and that we'll have you'll be able to read without censorship. So thanks a lot.
Well, thanks to all of you for participating and for your thoughtfulness, and good luck. I hope you are able to reach out to the community and bring out the voters, and that we'll have a good showing on the 31st. But this was a good showing tonight, so thank you all very much. Thanks.
Thank you.